shouldn't be.
Oh no, like the actual like Toys R Us store. No.
So even then, like it was pretty deep in there. So
PVA.
I gotta do that.
Yeah. Oh, are you a first order officer?
I'm General Hux.
General Hux. All remaining systems will bow to the First Order.
They should.
And that's Poe Dameron's droid.
He's my son. My beautiful child.
Oh, you're Poe Dameron?
Yeah.
Okay.
The jacket's just a little too hot right now.
Oh. All I can say is that that is an awesome Fallout costume. Oh my god.
I didn't know what to do. I was like, they should have fired me a long time ago. I don't know what we're going to do. I wrote an email to Mitch that said, I think we have to start over. Addressing their notes on the script has turned it into an unfunny, unclear piece of garbage. What if we looked at removing all the things that caused their notes in the first place? Mitch said, I agree completely. What if we got on the phone, hammered out a simple beat sheet, we could be in business. This got too over-complexified trying to address everything. We jumped on the phone, we talked it all out. This may start to sound more like the episode. We came up with 5 points. This is all from an email. Pinkie Pie's goal needs to be concrete. Let's try to make Ponyville feel like Yakistan. And then number 2, the vision quest is never going to work as we conceived it. So what if we made it not existential? Instead, she's trying to get to Yakistan and find out what they want for a party. While she's gone, forget that piece story about trying to really understand Pinkie Pie. It's just going to be jokes aplenty. Ponies and Spike try to cheer them up, entertain them, and stall. And alas, she doesn't make it to Yakistan, but in failing, her friends discover the Pinkie Pie party planning cave, which they cheer her up. Those 2 stories come together, which gives her the big idea that we shouldn't be trying to make Equestria feel like they're home. We should be trying to make them feel at home in Equestria. And I vividly remember Mitch saying, if you make it sound like it flips it around, it sounds true. So that'll be a good friendship lesson. We were desperate. And so 24 hours later, already moved episode 501. It was pretty much exactly what aired. Except for one thing, and by this point I was just completely unprepared to push back on anything. I was just amazed that they said, we like it. And by the way, they meant, we like it, here's another 12 pages of notes, but they were like very specific line changes and things like that. So I was like overjoyed. But I just wanted to point out, there was one scene that I agreed, okay, let's just cut it, but in hindsight, I wish we hadn't, because I think it did an important job in the script, which is, you know, there's 2 kinds of stakes. There's the actual stakes, the physical stakes, which is burning Equestria to the ground, but there's emotional stakes too, and I didn't really prepare a cohesive argument for why we should keep this scene, but the very first scene, after the Yaks arrive and they trash everything, after the theme song, it originally opened up with a soft scene with Twilight and 3 Yaks walking through, and that some other joke, forget about that. But it opened with this scene where Twilight says, don't worry about the mess back there, we'll get it all cleaned up, I'm just glad you arrived safely. And Prince Rutherford said, if things not perfect, Yaks get mad. Yaks always get mad when things not perfect. She said, I know Yaks have short tempers, but that's not going to stop us from becoming friends. And she leads into a balcony overlooking Ponyville, and the Yaks are taken aback by the beautiful view. Yaks have no friends. Yaks don't know why. Twilight says it could be any number of reasons, really, not necessarily because you smash everything when you get mad. Either way, I promise that by tomorrow morning, ponies and Yaks will be best friends. For 1,000 moons? She nods. Now, I know you've never left Yakistan, so we planned a whole day filled with things to remind you of home. Does that sound good? Pony nice. Yaks like nice pony. And Twilight's a little embarrassed, and she says, enjoy the view. I'm going to round up the welcoming committee, and we're going to get to it. And I wish we kept that because I do think it would have been really nice to care about why the Yaks need friends and why it matters if they have friends or not. But by that point, I was just so relieved that I wasn't fired that I didn't say anything about it. So I shared it with you guys, and I hope you enjoyed hearing the story of Party Troop and my journey in sadness.
Now we're going to switch the dongle.
Okay.
mine is way less fancy and PowerPointy and like that stuff. But I'm talking about the main attraction. Okay. And I started, so I just finished writing, I think, the second draft of the Cutie Mark, Crusaders of the Lost Mark. And then I got this, hold on, not that one. So I got this email from Megan. It said, awesome job on the musical. Lyrics are terrific. I'm going to forward this to Melinda, who I don't know that. Are you crazy busy at the moment? I'm short of writer and might have one more script if you're available. And I wrote back, if you read from the bottom, and I said, I'm not crazy busy, I actually cut that one. And she says, oh, this is the episode that's going to star Lena Hall, who won the Tony for Hedwig and the Angry Inch. And my first response was, okay, no pressure. You know, just a normal little response. Then I said, I got more excited, I said, and I apologized to people with children. I said, that's fucking awesome! I wanted to be the one to write it for her. And then I was still trying to process this. And I'm like, am I writing lyrics for her? So basically it went from, yeah, I'm available, and my head exploded, and then I was like, I began to shake a bit. So Megan actually originally wrote the premise for this. And so it was called Going Gaga. Because as you may know, it was based on Lady Gaga. But her name at that point was called Duchess Frivolity. And then her given name was Daisy Whimsical. And we pretty much knew that that name was not going to stick. And they were going to have a concert called Ponchella at Sweet Apple Acres. And Applejack was going to be in charge of it, and because it was at Sweet Apple Acres, she was going to be in charge of, like, not just running everything, but dealing with the talent. And then future Ra-Ra shows up, and she has this huge entourage with her in the premise. And she still has her manager, but he's kind of put upon and having a rough time because the entourage are asking for all these things and just really kissing Duchess Frivolity's butt over this whole thing. And in the end, it's Applejack that brings him back around, and then Duchess offers Applejack a job and says, hey, want to be my manager? So that's how the premise was, and that originally got approved. So then we had our story meeting, and we hashed out all the details. I'm trying to see. Okay, so originally the teaser was them like rattling off all these band names that were pony puns, and even Granny Smith knew them. But then there's this, but the big headliner got announced, bigger than Sapphire Shores, and then we had something about that Granny Smith knows this like fancy dance the kids are doing now. She's like, youth is wasted on the wrong fillies, because Applejack doesn't know what's going on and she's not hip. So it was this big set teaser about the concert, which still happens, but very differently. And we were trying to tie in one of the books that Jillian wrote that had all of these pony names, pony band names in there. And these are my notes, which you can see are super detailed.
Can I just point out that every good act break should end with what?
Yeah.
Which I know is Applejack.
So yeah, Applejack at the end of Act 1, what? So yeah. And then she comes back on what? And continues because she's seeing Gaga and she's like, what the heck? And then at the end of Act 2, which, I think this is also a good way to end any act, Applejack is sad. So, it's just sad. It's your dark, it's either your oh shit moment or it's like, oh shit. So then, really I know I'm gonna have songs, and I don't know if you can see there, but it's like being true to yourself, being true to your vision, being true to you, be yourself. So, and we knew that her original song was supposed to be really, over the top, and you couldn't understand the lyrics and all auto-tuned, and then it's stripped down, because I don't know if you've ever seen Lady Gaga when she's just sitting at a piano, and she's amazing. And that was all of Megan's that's what inspired the whole story. So those are my meeting notes. But then I knew I needed a different name for Countess Coloratura, well, the future Countess Coloratura. So these are just my notes on, can you see them? Blown up. Hold on. Woo. So I'm like, this is me just spitballing on my own. It says truly, Amina. I don't know if Amina means truly or Aminia, and then I was going to music things, aria, rhapsody, rococo, duchess, countess, contessa, baroness, and then last line, Contessa Coloratura Rara. So that was just me trying to find this. But then I had to send that to Megan and tell her about why I wanted to name this. Again, I'm blowing it up. Blowing it up. Hold on. Okay, hold on. So, okay.
Zoom in. Enhance.
So it says, hey Megan, I've been thinking about Lena's character name. What if the name Coloratura and her stage name is Countess Coloratura or Countessa? What I like about this is that Coloratura actually means coloring in Italian. So she could use cool colors and her cutie mark could be colorful musical notes. Now, I know Lena is not a coloratura soprano, which is like really, I don't know if you guys know this, but it's a really high voice. But I was reading up on the term, and it also means ornamentation. Since this character is going over the top with her ornamentation, I thought this is fitting. I was thinking that when she and Applejack were kids, AJ could think that this name is over the top, and this is stuff, you know. And she could give her the nickname Ra-Ra, Coloratura. When her friends tell her Countess Coloratura is headlining, AJ could say, I don't know anything about any Countess, but I had a friend named Coloratura when I was just a filly. And she could but she called her Ra-Ra because Coloratura was just too fancy. AJ could note that she did have an amazing, colorful, pure voice she's ever heard. She knew she was destined for great things. Then she hears the horrible auto-tune, it's not the same. She can't even hear her friend's voice. And then there's all the crap on stage, all the ornamentation and distractions. Later when Ra-Ra asks AJ's advice, this isn't right, on all the crazy stuff, AJ said that she doesn't know about all that highfalutin stuff. She doesn't need all that junk or that silly name. After all, Ra-Ra is not really a countess. For AJ, it comes back to Coloratura's voice, the colors and purity of it. If anything, her name should be Colorapura, because that's how her voice always sounded to her, and she's never needed, and that's all she ever needed up on stage. What do you think? And Megan says, great, I love it. And I say, groovy, okay. And then also my daughter pointed out that in Bad Romance by Lady Gaga, they go rah, rah. So we thought that was cool too. So that's how that name came about. And I was very, very, very pleased with my noting of the Coloratura. And that comes into play later. So then, I had to write the outline. And if I can find it, so this was the outline originally. Okay, so it's supposed to start with all of these pony pun names, and oh, look at this list. We got Cold Hay, and the Who's, and Maisie, and Philly Joel, and Britney Spears, and can Applejack believe it? And Applejack's like, I don't know who any of these people are. And Apple Bloom, so it's like, Apple was like, what? You've never heard of Goatee Hay? And 9-inch Tails? And yeah.
Somebody's going to be salvaged. We have to have an episode with Britney Spears where she shaves her mane off.
Absolutely. 30 Seconds to Mares. The Talking Herds. I mean, and AJ, Applejack hasn't heard of any of these. And then Granny Smith comes running in. The Red Hot Chili Peppers are performing in Coachella. And just a side note, I hate the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Whatever.
Oh, you just lost the room?
Well, but the name was so funny, I put it in there. And so it's like, no, don't do that. So even Granny Smith has heard of these bands, and she's like, please, just because the shine's off the apple doesn't mean it's lost its crunch. And Granny Smith goes in to demonstrate that she keeps up with all the dances, the buck and ruckus, the hoof stomp shuffle, and the latest is the cutie boot scoot. And she starts dancing, and Applejack's like, what the hell? That's what it was supposed to be. And then pretty much it's all the same. The big thing, again, in this version is that you have the entourage instead of just the manager. And I don't have time, so I'm not going to read all that stuff, because it's basically what you know. And then, you know, you get the notes, as Nick has pointed out. They're like...
Really fun.
They're like, and Megan responded to, okay, I'm blowing this up again. Okay. So it's like, kudos on what's going to be an amazing showcase for Lena. Fingers crossed on, so we were hoping that the manager was going to be played by Neil Patrick Harris. So that, yeah, I know. I'm running out of time. Crap on a cracker. Okay, sorry. So I had, you know, we had, basically their note in this was, we should just have it be the manager and not all of the other ponies. The entourage, just keep it simple, which is actually a fantastic note to get. It's like, yeah, let's keep the villain, if we're gonna have a villain, let's have it just be one pony. And then it went into, I know we've been throwing around the name Pochella for a bit, but it sounds kind of odd, and when written, looks weird, which is what your main concern is when you have something that is going to be recorded, that it looks weird. Can we come up with a different name? Don't think it needs to be a pun. And we're open to using pony puns for the band names, but the references for the bands and rappers is bumping us, especially when you have, you know, Sapphire Shores thrown in there. So it was like, okay. But at the same time, they also said, nice job tying in one of our pony books from the show. So it was these two conflicting messages of, hey, great job with this, but can we cut this? It's like, I don't know.
Conflicting messages in notes?
No. So then, so scene 11, Color Akira sounds a little odd to us. Is there a different way AJ could get the idea across to her friend? And I said, sure, but bummer. And again, they said, fun episode, and, oh yeah, this is my favorite. So, just a bit of logic question off the top. At the beginning, it says that they are building a stage for a concert. If Applejack and Big Mac are building a stage, how do they not know about the upcoming concert? My response was, what? Of course they know. That's what they're building it for. How drunk are they when they read these outlines? And then, as far as the band names, they didn't like them because it sounded like the Flintstones. And I said, who doesn't love the Flintstones? And where's...
Two Flintstones.
Sorry, trying to find it. Sorry, I'm choking. So, I'm still running out of time. Hey. Okay, so now I'm going to talk, so the teaser was what? Load up, sorry, okay. So much. I can do that. Yay. Nice. Okay, so again, at this point, it's Applejack not knowing what the heck is going on. So this is like, I don't know if you guys are like this, but one of the hardest things I ever have to accomplish is getting that teaser done and trying to make it funny, because you only have about 3 pages for the teaser. And so I seriously, this is the first version of it, and it's talking all about these band names. And then the second version of the teaser, still, we're talking about the band names.
Do you guys know what a teaser is? It's that little piece before the main titles.
So it's still Applejack being like, I've never heard of all these bands. And then Granny Smith coming in and here she's doing something called the wing-a-ding-ding. And she says, wing-a-ding-ding, wing-a-ding-ding, flap those colored feathers, give your partner a swing. And as you guys know, none of this is what happens. Okay. Other great stuff happened, and I was gonna...
You guys can't see this, but we have these screens up here, and they have a countdown timer over there that's 4 feet across, the number counting down.
And he's taking some of this. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna try and cut to some chases here. Okay, so one of the best notes was, okay, Pinkie, when I originally wrote this, Pinkie Pie's hair, when her frizz has been freed, it says, Pinkie's hair uncurls and goes flat. So that's what I wrote in the first draft. But then Megan changed it to Pinkie Pie's, I should have done a PowerPoint. And the second one, it was, it says Pinkie's hair sproins into an afro. That's what Megan changed it to. And the reasoning, and this was logical, was that Pinkie Pie, when she's depressed, her hair goes straight, right? Fine, that's fantastic. So I was like, okay, that's a really good change. Got it. But then we get a note. I'm not going to be able to find it. I'm just going to tell you about it. So we get this note saying whether Pinkie Pie's hair is an afro. And they're like, I don't know, Pinkie Pie's hair is kind of curly. How is that going to be different when she gets an afro? And so then so I read the second draft and I'm like, okay, fine. So I made it straight again. And then we get the note saying, Pinkie Pie's hair only goes straight when she's depressed. And then a note from so that was from Hasbro. A note from DHX was, how about an afro? And I can't really repeat what Megan said, but she was a little annoyed. So then, in my third draft, I said that Pinkie Pie's hair became like the Bride of Frankenstein. And then they did whatever they did. Originally Sven Gallup's name was Pony Baloney, and everybody's like, that's a really obvious name that he's not a nice guy. And so then Megan said, can it be like a Svengali type name? And Svengali is this character in literature who is this guy that controls this woman named Trilby. And I was like, okay, well, what kind of name can I come up with that? And then I had this email exchange with my husband. So he got an email from this person that says, hi folks, I looked at your actual photo. I love you a lot. We should chat. I'm a girl with only serious about mail. And my husband writes, oh my. And I write, my oh my. And he says, obviously true love, very sincere. And I said, I understand that if you must leave me. And he says, wow, that was quick. I leave for a couple hours and I'm literally out the door. Really, she means nothing to me. And I said, I just don't want you to give up on your true love. And he said, oh, in that case. And then he completely changes the subject. I think there's a Falsaman's ice cream around here. And I was like, okay. I said, yum. And then I changed the subject. Hey, I need to replace Pony Baloney. Megan wants a Svengali type name. Thoughts? And he said, Sven Pony. Galley up. And I said, Sven Gallop? And that's how that name came about.
From the divorce.
So, since I'm totally out of time, I'm going to stop there. Hand it over.
You want to start the clock again? How's it going over there? Down on the edge. How you doing? You having a good time? You having fun?
Oh yeah, I love it up here.
All right, I'm going to talk about slice of life. That's my desktop.
We had to watch him go through 7 or 8 pictures to find the sexiest one. Just so you guys know, the preparation he put in.
All right, so I'm just going to give you a quick rundown on this episode. The original writer of the 100th episode was right there, Amy K. Rogers. She did how many different ideas for this? How many different ideas did you have to do?
Oh my gosh, I had so many different ideas for this. It was called The Other Main Six, The Grand Tour of Equestria, The Princess of Stress, The Wedding in Ponyville, the 100th episode premise. We began to just give up. And then 20 shorts on Equestria. So I'm like, I don't even know.
we tried to get something that they would agree to, and it just wasn't happening. And then there was one day where Amy, Megan, and I were in a room. We were trying to figure out how to do this. It was super late already. And Amy came up with this idea of doing a wedding as a framing story, because then you can include food and dresses and all the attendees, music, and all these elements flowers, elements we could pull from. And it was, all three of us just like, there it is, that's it, we got it, that's our framing design. So then Amy went and wrote, not this, not the thing I'm showing you, something else. And they were like, eh.
Yeah.
So then I had a conversation with Amy, because I was writing The Lost Treasure of Griffinstone, which got approved, and Amy was sitting there rewriting and not getting paid. And I said, you want to just swap and get paid? And she said, yes.
Yes.
So that's when I took over this, and I started all over again, because this one was really tough because the hub was heavily involved, and they usually weren't. They were usually pretty hands-off, but they wanted to stunt cast it and get all these David Tennant and Jeff Bridges and all these big voices. None of them actually happened. And so this is Amy's original premise before she left. So this is, okay, so I even when I took it over, I didn't really know what to do, because from conception, I thought this was a terrible idea to showcase the background ponies, because you guys had made characters out of them. And for us, Lyra is not Lyra, she's background pony number 3. You know, she doesn't have any personality. You guys made them into living characters, and who am I to come along and stomp on what you created and say, you're wrong, this is Lyra. But they were like, do it. Stomp on. So I was sitting and I was like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? This is horrible. There's no way to do this that's going to be good. And then I remember it was a Saturday afternoon. I was in my office and I was like, I know what to do. Just accept that this is a fan episode and just go for it. Just go all out. And you can see here's some batshit insanity on a page. That's what it was. I was like, I'm just going to throw every single reference, pandering, everything I could possibly think of in here. And then I was fun. Then I was like, oh, I like this. Like a normal outline is 4 or 5 pages, and mine was 10 pages long for the same 22 minutes, because it was so filled with characters and references and so many things that got cut. There's a lot of stuff that got cut out.
Did you know a lot of this stuff before this, or did you have to dive in and learn a lot of this?
What I try to do is, you can see here in the second paragraph, my operating theory is to take some small thing that has been seen in the show. For example, how Bon Bon always has a different voice every time she speaks, and somehow make a character out of that. What I didn't want to do was take fan ideas and put them in the show. I wanted to try to take things out of the show from these background characters, so that's where I came up with the idea that she was undercover agent, because she keeps having different voices. So I just took little things like that and tried to spin them out into characters, because I knew if I took what you guys had done, it would not end well. And the only thing that at that point they really wanted was, there's 3 acts. They wanted to have Derby and Dr. Hooves together, they wanted to have Lyra and Bon Bon together, and Octavia and Final Scratch together. And other than that, I gotta do what I want. So I wanted to weave them all together through each other's stories and just have it be like batshit insanity. Just craziness. You have to watch it 3 or 4 times to get all the references. It wasn't quite as intense as I'd hoped, but I think it came out really well.
I think you accomplished that.
There was way more crazy. So here's an outline. This is an original outline. So there's only 3 pages because I think we're just trying to get across. Can you see it? So I had things in here like Namby-Pamby, who is referenced in Ponyville Confidential. We never actually saw her. So enter Namby. This is when Featherweight is printing the invites. Enter Namby-Pamby, the previous editor of Featherweight's older sister. She changed the settings because Featherweight uses the sans serif font like an amateur.
You can read it. How can you read it?
He says she changed the date, and now everybody's expecting a wedding tonight. So that explains why they were wrong. That got changed, obviously. It's actually better that it was Derby's fault. In my original one, Final Scratch talked because I didn't know she didn't talk, so for me, she was Brad Pitt in True Romance. I don't know if you guys have seen that. Great character. You should watch True Romance anyways, because it's an amazing movie, but when you see Brad Pitt, you'll know that's what I wanted Final Scratch to be. But then Hasbro was like, she doesn't talk! And I'm like, yeah, none of them talk. What do you mean she doesn't? So then, oh, this is the one I love that they cut. So while you're flying all around, all over the place, the doctor races past Cranky, who's himself frantically running the other way, trying to get ready for the wedding. He's carrying armloads of flowers and things and hopping alongside of his Flash Sentry. And he's like, I don't understand. I wash your wagon every Saturday. I rake your lawn. Why am I not invited to the wedding? And Cranky's like, there's something about you I just don't like. And to their credit, Hasbro's like, we love this joke, but it's just too much of an inside joke, so they cut it. Then I had these characters, Dinky Doo, Truffle Shuffle, and Apple Bites, arguing about who's the best princess. And they kept popping in saying, no, Luna's the best princess. It was you guys. So here's Lyra is aghast. She says their whole friendship has been a lie, and that explains why your voice is always different. It's all been an act. So that's basically how I try to come up with these 6 characters who weren't actually characters, but just, like I said, finding something in canon. This was a great joke that, you know Sabrina Alberghetti, the Sipsy, the board artist, this is her joke that I thought was so hilarious. Everybody's pouring into the wedding at the end of the episode, the guests are milling about coming in, and a group of background ponies walks up, and another group of background ponies walks up, and they're identical except they're different colors, they're recolored. And they look at each other and they're like, well, this is embarrassing. It's such a good meta joke, it would have fit perfectly in the episode, but it got cut for some reason. Yeah. You could do a fan cut of this episode. I had a thing where Lyra had been kicked out of Octavia's band, and then they made up at the end of the wedding. They got together and they kind of buried the hatchet. That got kind of a little too complicated, but I like the idea that at the wedding, all these people who have been in conflict were now kind of coming together over love. And then this is my favorite joke of the whole episode, and it got cut, which is that in the middle of the craziness, you cut outside, and Celestia's Royal Guard and Luna's Bad Ponies are standing outside waiting, cracking each other up with Monty Python-esque impersonations of Celestia and Luna. And I got that because I worked for a really famous director in New York, and I used to hang out with his drivers all the time. He had multiple drivers, and his drivers would do this. They would like impersonate him. It was so funny. So I figured their guards would like, while they're off duty, be like making fun of the princesses. Barry Sean rolls in with a cask and is like, told you to take care of Matilda. She's supplying all the booze for the party. And then my original ending, which I'm glad changed, was an establishing shot of the venue outside. It's the sunset washes over Poneville. Everything is beautiful. The magic hour. We see the main 6 standing outside watching the ceremony. And there in the orange-hued sky, we see a distant swarm of changelings bearing down. Slightly different vibe. I'm glad they cut that. This is, okay, so this is the actual outline. You can see it's 10 pages long. And it's filled with like footnotes and hyperlinks, feather. So if anybody at DHX or Hasbro, click on this, it would link to the MLP wiki of who these people are. Then you had Twinklestrand, Snooty Waiter, the Boulder is Tom, look, Namby-Pamby, it's got footnotes. The whole thing was like, you can see who all these characters are. Yeah, and then I also wanted them to add more, like put more in. The more that you can't have too many. I don't think there's anything I was going to show you. The biggest thing to change in this whole episode is the third act. I'll show you that in a minute. So yeah, it's 10 pages long for the same 22 minutes. That's how fast it's supposed to be. This is just a document that they wanted me to make that was a compendium of all these characters.
I mean, this shows how insane it is and how amazing it is, all the stuff you guys do, because it really is like Incidental Pony 4, Incidental Pony 5, like, they're nothing.
Yeah.
Austin, what'd you do?
I guess the rage is starting early.
Sorry, guys.
I'll give him that.
You guys excellent time. Sorry about this, guys. I'll just read it to you. So I wanted to show you this because this is an email I got from the story editor on Cutie Mark Chronicles, and it says, They understand why we had our act breaks in the middle of flashbacks, but are wondering whether we might want to cut outside the story to see the Crusaders reacting. Cleared to go to script. One note, no problem.
Oh, you got it on blink mode, that's the problem.
I'm just gonna let it blink, guys. Oh, but it's not up there now. We put it up there. This is a visual gag. There we go. Okay, so here's the extent of my notes on Cutie Mark Chronicles, right? Here's my notes on Slice of Life. See them? Oh, really? Oh. It doesn't like full screen. You can see Vince. Okay, so look, you guys. Look at the notes. Look at them. Look at the notes. Look how much better they're making it. Yeah, this is my favorite one. This reference to Sakura feels obtuse. I'm like, oh, well, let me fix that. No problem. I'll make it less obtuse.
You can't just call some pony the Z word.
Yeah. So, clearly we were having some miscommunications with how this was working. So I wrote a come to Jesus email to everybody. Hello everyone, apologize in advance for the novel you're about to read, but I've been going through the notes. Keep in mind, this is after months and months of working with Amy and me and just slogging through quicksand. And I'd had it. Going through the notes, talking with the Hasbro guys, I noticed a common theme to some of them that I thought might be good to discuss. From a big picture perspective, the purpose of this episode is to celebrate 100 episodes of MLP, and we've chosen to do that by highlighting the background characters, etc., etc. My concept has been to pack this with as many background and secondary characters as humanly possible. It's intended to go at breakneck speed with a mix of anchor stories and quick gags, coming at you so fast and layered you have to watch twice. That's why the narrative swirls through acts the way it does and has all those little one-shots. It's not about story, it's about energy, energy, energy. So then the rest of this is like, you keep telling me to cut every single gag that's not connected to the story, we're going to end up with just a boring, regular episode. And my whole point of this email was, this is not a regular episode, this needs to be crazy. And to their credit, I just looked, when they responded, they were like, oh, we didn't really get that, that makes a lot of sense. So then, I still had to deal with this. But it was a lot easier, because I was like, no, this needs to stay, this needs to stay, this needs to stay. And then we go to the script. No, I don't want to This is the first draft of the script. What do I got? Oh my gosh, I have less than a minute. There's so many things that got cut, you guys. All right, I'll just tell you so many good jokes. 30 seconds. All right, I'll just tell the ending. So, well, okay. One thing I've never mentioned about this was there's a whole sequence where Coco Pomel comes to town. She goes to Golden Harvest. You know Golden Harvest? She goes to Golden Harvest's house, and Golden Harvest has this like evil mad scientist moment where she's like, Coco Pomel's, I don't understand why you wanted me to make you a dress. She's got this green dress on for the wedding. When the greatest designer in Ponyville, Rarity, lives here, or Equestria, Rarity lives here, and Golden Harvest goes completely villainous, and she's like, because Rarity embarrassed me and humiliated me in front of everyone when she criticized the color green.